General Board meeting, Tuesday, September 20th of 2022 at 7 p.m. And I would like to call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock, and I would request that we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, you do roll call, please.
Supervisor Kowal.
Here.
Treasurer Roman.
Here.
Clerk Noble here. Trustee Ruggles.
Here.
Trustee Smith.
Here.
Trustee Voorhees.
Present.
Trustee Powell.
Here. Very good. I'm not sure which agenda you may have the most updated, but 11D was added. It's a DLZ engineering agreement for the Elizabeth Lake Corridor Road. So that if it is not on your current, that is going to be added. So that is, I'm not sure where everybody
Put
stands.
that in the form of a motion.
I'm putting that in the form of a motion to make sure that it's there.
Okay, I'll support it.
Okay, so with that being said, that's a motion to approve the agenda as amended. I have motion, I have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it. Public comment, any comment from the public out there? Seeing none, moving on to consent agenda. Mr. Roman.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, looking for support.
I'll support that.
I have support from Mr. Ruggles. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Items A, B, and C. The regular board meeting of July 19th, 2022, the regular board meeting of August 16th, 2022, and the special board meeting of August 31st, 2022. The clerk's office and deputy have put out requests for any corrections. Hopefully they were made prior to this meeting. If there's any questions or comments, please, board members at this time state so. Mr. Powell.
Mr. Supervisor, on page 15, sixth line down.
What minute?
And I'm sorry, the first,
Which set of minutes?
July 19th, regular board meeting minutes. I really don't want the increase in responsibility. Unless it's been changed, it calls me Supervisor Powell in that line.
Oh, subliminal slip there.
That's correct, and so that should probably be modified. The problem is I don't know if I actually performed the request to go to second reading, or I recommended it, or whether or not you as the supervisor did in that setting. So I needed the board's help to decide if that, is that supposed to be Supervisor Kowal or Trustee Powell?
That's a good question.
I think it's Supervisor Kowal.
I think so.
It
Sounds like Supervisor Kowal.
I believe it is. I believe it was.
Yes, so we need to correct that.
Duly noted. Any other corrections or comments from the board members? Seeing none, looking for a motion, Mr. Powell.
Mr. Supervisor, I move approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting July 19th, the regular board meeting of August 16th, and the special board meeting of August 31st as modified.
Very good. We have that in the form of a motion. Looking for support?
Support.
I have motion. I have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay.
Voorhees supported.
Okay. Well, we have a couple different things that are before us right now. And I'm missing a little bit of data here, unfortunately. I'm not quite. I beg the board's pardon for a moment. We have two particular proclamations. We have the National Recovery Month of September, and as we know, we have had issues throughout our nation of people that have habitual addictions. And we've had nearly 92,000 overdose deaths in this country in 2021, and it was a 31% increase from 2019.
Wow.
Those are tragic, tragic numbers. You know, substance abuse and recovery is important for individuals' well-being and vitality, as well as for family, friends, communities, businesses, and continue to educate, raise awareness of the risk and potential harm associated with prescription drug misuse. and the stigma and stereotypes that some people perceive to have done with those addictions. And the disorders often kept people from seeking treatment that would help them improve their quality of life. Substance use and disorders occur when recurrent use of alcohol or other drugs cause clinically or functionally significant impairment, such as health problems, disability, failure to meet major responsibilities at work, school, or home. And substance use disorders recovery is a journey of healing and transformation, enabling people to live in the community of their choice while striving to achieve his or her full potential. And substance use disorder recovery benefits individuals with substance use disorders by focusing on their abilities to live, work, and fully participate and contribute to society, and also enriches the community and culture. Now, therefore, be it resolved that White Lake Township hereby recognizes December 2022 as National Recovery Month. White Lake calls upon our citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to recommit our state to increasing awareness and understanding of substance abuse and the need for appropriate and accessible services to promote recovery. And that is in the form of a motion, and everybody turn their phones to silent, like I should have. I guess I have to buy the first round.
Mr. Supervisor,
Yes.
before we make that motion,
Yes.
if I could just make an observation. It's very easy for all those of us on boards, government, and to make a statement like this. I submit that we could go one step further in that last item, now be it resolved. It calls on all of the groups to help in the recovery of that. But nowhere does it state that we should probably work towards the ending of the availability of illicit drugs that just seem to be coming across our borders without any stopping. And it'd be really great if we could put something in here that addresses that as well.
Well, I am totally open to that, Mr. Powell, so if you have something you'd like to add to that, I would be more than happy.
Just strictly something to, as I stated, not only promote recovery, but also prevent the illegal entrance of the illicit drugs into our country. Something as simple as that.
Well, if you care to amend that, I will.
If I had, yes, a wall would be very helpful, but I'm thinking that we'd stick to the specifics topic here. So if no one else has anything else to add, then I make a motion to approve the proclamation for the National Recovery Month of September 2022 for the substance abuse and mental health services, modified in the last paragraph to also request the governmental agencies to promote maybe somebody can help me, promote the stopping of illicit drugs from crossing into our country.
And the continuation of the wall.
And I'll go with that, and the continuation of our border wall. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Martha's in here.
Understood. I'm looking for a little bit of information here because I had something that I couldn't make out, and that is National Recovery Hotline, okay? Which I will put out in a moment, so I beg your pardon, but we will take that in the form of a motion. Did you get all that? Okay, that is a form of motion. Looking for a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Noble. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the National Recovery Hotline is 1-800-522-4700. Again, 1-800-522-4700. And there really should be nothing that anyone should ever look at themselves in a negative sense. We, as a board in this community, are supportive of anyone who wants to try to pull themselves up and move on with their life and better their life and their family surroundings. So thank you very much.
Can I add
Yes,
to that?
certainly.
I'm sure you're going to hear from the supervisor soon But we opted into a national class action lawsuit on the opioid litigation. And the township is going to be receiving significant sums to be used towards rehabilitation.
Awesome.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, well, that was a little something we're still working on.
How much
so,
of the wall will that build?
You know, it depends. That's
Yes.
part of the thing. And Trustee Smith, I know you had the National Suicide Prevention number.
I do.
Yes.
Would you like me to give it to you?
Yes, I would.
1-800-273,
273?
yes,
Mhm.
8255. So it's 1-800-273-TALK is what's spelled out.
Very good.
And that is 24/7. You can text or call.
Okay, we will get to the two because these two are kind of interwoven. We've had a lot of people that have hit the wall, so to speak, and then their last result is not good. So thank you for reminding me of that conjoinment in the opioid lawsuit.
I know Trish was working on something, but
Yeah,
it
she
was
working
timely
on a
to
few
mention
things,
that.
yes.
while
No,
we're-
absolutely, absolutely. The next proclamation is, of course, National Suicide Prevention Month. September is known as National Suicide Prevention Month and is intended to help raise awareness surrounding suicide prevention resources available in the county. And Worldwide Suicide Prevention Day is observed each year on September 10th. And suicidal thoughts can affect anyone regardless of age, gender, race, orientation, income level, religion, or background. And according to the CDC, each year more than 45,979 people die by suicide in the United States in 2020. One death every 11 minutes. That is every man, woman, and child in White Lake, and then add another community to it. It is very tragic. According to the 2020 according to the CDC, 12.2 million adults across the U.S. seriously thought about suicide. 3.2 million adults made a suicide plan, and 1.2 million adults attempted suicide. And according to the 2020 Michigan Suicide Prevention Commission annual report, 1,389 people in the state died by suicide during the COVID-19 pandemic, with 1,099 of those deaths related to men. And every year, thousands of individuals die by suicide, leaving friends and family members to navigate the tragedy of loss, often feeling of shame and stigma prevent them from talking openly. And 988 has designated this new 3-digit dialing code that will route callers to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It is now active across the United States. I do not believe that was active last year. Okay.
It's new this year.
The late State Rep Andrea Schroeder, that was her last bill that she
Okay,
passed.
very
so,
good.
yeah.
Well, that's
It's on the back of every student ID now, grades 6 through 12.
Great. The National Action Alliance for Suicide Prevention uses the number Be There to educate social media followers about the many actions one can take to support a person who struggled, and Oakland County Health Network has been active to engage members of the Oakland County Suicide Prevention Task Force since 2011. And OCHN is committed to being a zero suicide organization and cultivating a network of providers who engage in a zero suicide philosophy. Now, there be it resolved that White Lake Township hereby recognizes September 22 as a National Suicide Prevention Month. White Lake calls upon our citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to recommit our state to increasing awareness and understanding of suicide prevention and the need for appropriate and accessible services to individuals in crisis. And that is in the form of a motion. Looking for support.
Support.
I have motion, I have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And again, that number, Trustee Smith?
That number, one more time, is 1-800-273-8255, which spells out TALK, T-A-L-K. And that is, you may also text HOME to 741741, and that is free and available 24 hours a day.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on, item 9A, public hearing, emergency sewer connections, 2022-02, special assessment district SAD.
Mr. Supervisor, I don't understand this one a little bit, and maybe David could help us. I know there are 3 public hearings. Is this one specifically to approve the intention to establish, or what is this specifically for?
This is to set the special assessment district, I believe, correct, David?
Yeah, this is confirming the role. This is the last step.
Oh, this is the confirming the role. Okay, that's what I didn't know, so thank you.
That's 10A, Mike.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add before we go into?
Goes along with that
Public
next
hearing?
resolution, Mike.
Okay.
It goes along with that next resolution.
Yes,
Okay,
it
thank you.
follows
I
with it.
didn't
Okay.
follow now, okay, yes.
At this time, I would like to open the public hearing on the emergency sewer connections for 2022-02 Special Assessment District SAD. I'll make that in the form of a motion, roll call
You need
vote.
to mention the time, Mr. Supervisor?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. And Mr. Noble also prodded me. 7:16 is the time to open. I need support on that.
Support.
I have support, roll call vote.
Supervisor Colwell?
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Treasurer Roman?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Ruggles?
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees?
Yes.
Trustee Powell?
Yes.
Very good. At this time, if there is anyone from the public that has any comment on the public hearing for the Emergency Sewer Connections 2022-02 Special Assessment District, SAD, please state your business. Seeing none, I make a motion to close at 7:16.
Support?
I have motion, I have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have closed. Public hearing. Resolution 22029 to confirm a special assessment role for the Special Assessment District designated emergency sewer connections 2022-02.
So move approval?
So move approval. Looking for support?
Support.
I have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Before I go any further, I want to commend, I know we said this from time to time, but I want to make sure the public understands that the board took action a few years back to establish this program so that when we have individuals that have a degree of difficulty hooking up to their septic up to sewer when available, the board took this very serious, and because of our community being a groundwater community, it's even that much more important. So again, I applaud my board for all these efforts taken in the past and continue to be done. Resolution 10B, Resolution 22027, to approve capital improvement plan. Mr. O'Neill,
Thank you, sir.
why should we approve this?
It's just a really great plan, which is really why. Hello, Board. Before you tonight, you have the update to our 6-year cycle, our CIP cycle. You're all very familiar with this process. I'm happy to dive into it if you'd like. But on September 1st, the Planning Commission held a required public hearing and unanimously adopted the CIP, which is now before you in the form of Resolution 22-027, as the supervisor had mentioned. You have the draft Planning Commission meeting minutes in your packet, and really it's just pretty straightforward. I want to definitely thank all the departments who participate in this, thank the Planning Commission, and especially thank Justin, who did the lion's share of the work and has done so for the last couple of years. And then, Jason before him. It's a document that we're very proud to update with the staff and with the Planning Commission and then you folks every year in-house and not outsource this. So if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I would respectfully request your approval of the resolution before you tonight.
Any questions from the board?
I think it's very critical, not only that we're able to do this in-house, but it's very critical to approve this because future grants and matching funds, whatever is related to this, and this is a precursor to being approved. So I'm in full favor of this.
Very good. What great things this township is looking to do and trying to do it within the realm of possibility and realistic, projections.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have been able to do it in-house has been a plus, because I think actually we just have our finger on the pulse that much more.
Yeah, I want to remind all the board members as well as the public that this document has an enormous cost kind of itemized in here. It doesn't mean we're going to spend that money. It had calls that have said, how can we vote a budget of whatever the final number is? Well, we're not doing a budget amendment, we're just identifying projects.
And as
Powell-
Sean always eloquently states when he talks about this, as he calls it a wish list.
I do call it a wish list. I was being brief tonight, but it is our wish list, and now you've got me going. But this year was one of the few years where a resident didn't show up concerned at exactly what you just said, Mr. Powell, which is this is hundreds of millions of dollars worth of things. And we do assure them that, as Lisa just mentioned, it is a wish list. These are a very detailed accounting of assets, both current assets and future desired assets that are identified by each department and rated and, consolidated into this plan, which is a requirement of the Planning Enabling Act of 2008. So because we own and or operate a water or sewer system, we do both. Those are two triggers that require a community in this state to put this kind of plan together. I can tell you that quite a few do not. They have never or do not keep it up. Actually, the community I live in hasn't done it in 5 years. And I am pretty disappointed in that because it's a pretty good tool to have. And so I think we can all be proud that we continue to put our best foot forward. And I mean, again, this is a transparency tool. When the public wants to know what we're doing with resources and what our future goals are with resources, they can look no further than this document, which is always on our website. And so I think it's very important.
Not to mention this, and I've mentioned this before about other studies and programs that we put together, that when we apply for grants, oftentimes it's a little box that says, do you have a recreation plan? Do you have a capital improvement plan? And oftentimes these are required to even be able to apply. So
We have netted millions of dollars over the last several years as a result of both of these documents.
Yes, we have.
And I think that's very important to call out as well.
So it's an investment in our community and allows people to see what's going on. I'll never forget one meeting when we did this. We had a group come in and the woman said, that's $40 or $50 million. It's not in the budget. And Sean so eloquently put it, it's the wish list. So just to relieve people, it's that direction, or I will put it as it is more or less a business plan in a sense for the community. So that'll be the way to look at it.
I've got a question. Before we approve it, should we remove the Aspen Meadows iron filtration?
So it'll be charted as complete for next year. It's underway currently, so at the time of adoption, it is not done. Hopefully, it'll be done by the end of this year, but it'll be charted as complete or as a success for the next cycle.
It's a great question, Scott.
No, good question. Looking for a motion. Mr. Roman?
Motion to approve Resolution 22-027, which is the capital improvement plan for the years 2023 through 2028.
I have a motion, looking for support. I have motion and support by Mr. Powell. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Item C. You'll have before you a resolution that has a rescission and a resolution kind of tied into one. As you know, we are part of WODA, Public Act 196 organization, and from time to time, I will come to this board with housekeeping adjustments. When we first pushed this amendment forward the first time around, there was a glitch that was found by one of the other communities that affected their ability to participate. Nothing to do with us, but their ability to participate because it was a timing issue. It was the end of their fiscal year and the start of their millage. And that language, they couldn't accept it based on that information as was. So what this does, and I'd come to find out that we were the only community that passed it because we were not aware of that. And by the time it got to the cycle of the other community, it was prior to the other two communities taking it before their board. So we were the first ones to have it. And we didn't know that that was going to be a detriment to their cycle. So they want us to rescind it and then adopt the 2010 amendment of the amended interlocal agreement It really reads kind of tough, I'll tell you that right now, thank you. And this will put us in sync and will allow that community to operate within those guidelines, of which all this could change depending on what happens with our public transportation.
I was going to ask you
millage,
about
yeah.
that.
So, but this keeps things going on the cycle of which they should be. Any questions from the board members at all? Section 10. Mr. Rowan.
So this resolution does both. It rescinds and amends?
Correct.
Okay.
Council?
It was an amendment that was presented to the township board last year, which you
Remember that.
adopted.
Right.
Since the other communities that are participants to the interlocal didn't adopt it, it's essentially null and void. They are now presenting a new revised amendment, but since you already adopted it, you're going to rescind the resolution that adopted that one and adopt a new resolution which adopts the one that's being presented now. That's why it reads so bad, because it is pretty bad.
And we are the last community to now finally adopt it versus
Out of
being.
all four communities.
Being the first one on the other side. So these are part of the growing pains that you have in an organization like this, and from time to time. And again, there was a sinking of the availability of funding. Any questions or comments? Otherwise, I'd like to entertain a motion for WODA.
I'll read their resolution, if I can read it right from here.
Do it.
Make a motion of a resolution to rescind resolution number 22-010, amended interlocal agreement for formation of an Act 196 authority to provide transportation services and to approve the revised amendment of amended interlocal agreement for formation of an Act 196 authority to provide transportation services. That's resolutions 22030.
Looking for support?
Support.
I have motion, I have support from Trustee Smith. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, and I'm sorry about the confusion, everyone. Lisa, Trish was pulling her hair out, and I think so was Lisa for a little bit there, but they finally got it all ironed out. Next item, new business, first reading of the Haley rezoning. Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you. Before you tonight is a request by Mr. Chuck Burt to rezone a property on Haley Road identified as parcel number 12-15-300-005, more commonly known as 2110 Haley Road. This is a parcel that's currently zoned agricultural. It's approximately 68.93 acres, and he would like to rezone the property to suburban farm. That is both consistent with the master plan, consistent with what is surrounding this property, and was the recommendation of the Planning Commission after they held a public hearing on September 1st. The review letter from staff is in your packet along with the minutes. Just to better acquaint you with the location, we are right here. So take a trip north on Porter Road and then hang a right on Haley, and it is it's not parcel specific, but it's this property right here, I believe. Chuck, is it not? Okay. So this is a very large parcel right in this area, again, surrounded by similarly sized parcels, similarly zoned parcels. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer those questions. Otherwise, I would request that this be moved from first reading to second reading tonight. And again, the request is to go from Suburban Farms, SF, to Agricultural AG.
Mr. O'Neill, it is consistent with our overall plan for this area, correct?
That is correct. It is consistent with the master plan as well as consistent with and adjacent to other properties zoned similarly.
John, you just said it was going from suburban farms to AG.
I'm sorry.
Did you mean the reverse?
I did mean the reverse, thank you, because now I'm hearing myself say that. Thank you for the correction. So again, it is, Chuck, were you catching me too? I thought I heard you start to say something. So it's going from ag to SF. So 5 acre zoning to 2 acre zoning.
The applicant, do you have anything to add? Okay.
So I apologize for not going down there. What was my goal? I know the area very well. It's all open land, correct?
It's like half, the top half was
Can you-
like horse farm. The rest of it was
Yeah, Chuck, you're going to have to state your name for the record.
Carlsberg, 2110 Haley, about 30% open land, the rest is.
Here we go.
Stand by.
I am Charles Burt of 2110 Haley. Just to answer the question, about a third open land, 2/3 wooded land.
And
Is
your
that turned on, Chuck?
Yeah.
Yes.
it's working.
Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah.
In your plan, I'm assuming,
It's not for you.
without divulging, Monsh's houses?
One personal house for myself.
Okay, thank you.
Just to give you a little bit more of an idea, if you look at the either screen right now, you'll see the two shades, kind of the tan color, which is what the ag parcels are designated or shaded as, and you can see the areas, mostly ag around him, but there are some adjacent parcels that are green, which is suburban farm, which is what he'd like to go to. But it's this large rectangle here, that's the property under consideration. It touches Haley Road at the corner here. He's got just shy, I think, of 400 feet of frontage, right? 350, 360 feet of frontage.
Yeah, that's why I'm going for the suburban farm.
Any questions from the board? Seeing none, need a motion to move on to second reading.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Supervisor. Make a
Please,
motion-
Mr. Ruggles.
Make a motion to approve rezoning of parcel number 12-15-300-005-2110 Haley Road from agricultural to suburban farm. Move to second reading.
I will support that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. You're on the second reading.
Wish it were all that easy.
Thanks for coming in, Chuck.
Yes, thank you very much. And if you want to do a little karaoke, hang around. So. Item 11B, request to consider rate increase for legal services. Well, we have been very fortunate to have the relationship that we have had with our township attorney through a couple different, actually 3 law firms, but you can't hold a job. And now we are looking at trying to update a few things. They were most generous here to provide us a 2-year rate reduction at one point in time, here a couple years back, and then it went up a little bit, and as we all know, costs have gone up. And you're looking for a modest increase from $140 an hour to $155 an hour for civil general and $160 for litigation services. And then there was also a request to make a change in the actual monthly amount, which is a flat fee that we currently pay for the prosecutions and the business related to the police department and the law enforcement end of our community. So I do have a letter. I gave all of you a copy of that letter from Dan Keller that he sent to me at almost 4 o'clock this afternoon. He had another engagement this evening, but he wanted to make sure that you were all aware that he was extremely satisfied, and he felt that Lisa's rate was more than competitive, and felt that it would be important to increase her rate actually beyond what her request was, to put it more in times of where we're at. And if the board is not in favor of such doing, to then at least have an agreement that we would come back and visit it within a year's time. The request has been to go currently from where we're at, which has been a very low rate of around $5,000 to around $10,000 a month, and the other rate increases as we have them. The public out there does not know all of the different things that go on and the issues that fire may have, or police may have, things that we may need to take action of a sort within the township to protect the township's interests. And some of these things can get very, very, very time consuming. We have, on the upside of COVID, along came the judicial system, which was very acceptable to Zoom meetings. Well, that's now changed. So now there's a tremendous amount of time and effort that will be spent in travel and court appearances as such, and it's a little more challenging and time-consuming to meet those requirements of how things are kind of shifting back to normal now that COVID is hopefully in our rearview mirror.
Except for the sign you have still out in the hallway there.
Yeah. I'll talk with DPS about that.
Plastic barriers everywhere.
Yeah. So, in my conclusion, I think both the hourly rate and the hourly rate is very modest, and I'm looking for conversation on the flat rate, the monthly rate, so.
Can I just clarification? Our letter says per year and you're saying monthly. So what are you asking?
It's per year. That amount is annual.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So our packet says per year though.
Yeah,
Is there something different?
It's an
in this memo?
annual flat fee.
For the police.
For the
correct?
police, yeah.
Yes.
So it's 90,000 right now, and they want to up it up to 100,000 for the police. And then the civil litigation compared to, like, if we go to trial, then she's asking that to go up to 160 an hour, correct?
For litigation.
For litigation.
Yeah, general civil stuff would be,
155.
that's correct.
155. Okay.
Yes. If I can just comment briefly, I was not aware of the chief's letter, and that's very, very kind of him, and I really appreciate that. Thank you, Chief. But just so that you're aware, we just learned that as of October 1st, we're going in person. And the benefit of doing the Zoom court, for me at least, is on Tuesdays, I would work on other stuff before Zoom court. I would work during lunch. I would work after Zoom court because I would have that time during the work day. Now that we're going back in person, I'm not only having to spend the travel time to get there, I'm stuck there at lunch for my afternoon docket and then the drive home. So I mentioned that to the chief, that I had written my letter prior to us being notified that we were going back in person. And I had mentioned that I may be coming back. And that was, I think, what prompted the chief's very kind letter, is that we did have that conversation. And I think it's going to be at least, if I was calculating what I'm charging now when I'm on Zoom versus what it's going to be, it's at least 3 to 3.5 hours a week just on the reversion back to in person. And by the way, until we were notified we had to go back as of October 1st, there was zero discussion, and the state court administrator's office has been pretty adamant that whatever you can do by Zoom, do by Zoom. So this was a very quick about face that all of us are looking at now.
So, any further questions from?
Yeah, I agree with Chief Keller, Lisa. You've been with us for 9 years. I've been with you that whole time. You're dedicated. You take phone calls night and day, relatively speaking, for many of us. Even a quick text in the middle of the afternoon, I know you responded to me. And I even see you at some of our township activities when you're able. So 100% for this, if not 110 to 20% in favor of this.
So I also want to compliment Lisa. She is extremely accessible to this board, and she's always taking the time to thoroughly advise us and taking our calls day and night. And she's looking out for the people of White Lake, as we are too. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
And hopefully she doesn't lose much sleep when we don't take her advice, so.
It's guidance.
Yes, that's right. It's
Well,
guidance.
she turns around
Yeah,
on the pillow.
I
I'll
know
tell
she
you that
does.
right now.
I have some very spirited conversations on my way home.
Yes, I'll bet.
Mr. Roman?
So what is so on the table is moving the prosecution from 90,000 to 100,000?
Correct.
Is that what we're saying?
And the hourly rate to 155 for general civil and 160 for litigation.
Why does the
Then it's
letter
only going
say
by five.
increasing it to 5,000, to
it
95,000?
That was my question too. It says something a little different.
Because
here.
that is what I wrote prior to us knowing we were going in person, and the chief's obvious, very nicely written letter.
Okay, because he complimented you, you want an even bigger raise?
We got
Yeah.
bonus already?
Yep, I've earned it, that letter.
Again, when this was initially put together, there
Okay.
wasn't the knowledge that she would have to be in
I
person.
followed that, I didn't understand the
Yeah,
tie.
that was the timing, and Chief was really
I read 9.
adamant today about getting this information to me and for me to share it with you.
Okay.
So he believes, and as he always has, and, we definitely are getting our money's worth.
Yes.
Pound of flesh.
So, question.
Yes.
How long will this agreement be good for?
10 more years,
Yeah,
Ten?
yeah.
figuring.
There's no agreement. You fire me whenever you want, and I can fire you whenever I want.
So
Oh, you're asking about like locking in a fee?
Right.
Look how long it's taken me to come for the
9 years.
Well, you just asked for a raise from when you wrote the letter
chief
to
asked,
tonight.
the chief asked, not me.
The extenuating circumstances, I believe that we will see this forecasted out for some time.
I'd like to, so,
Any other questions from comments?
yeah, I would just like to say, I think we've been getting a deal. Lisa's been with us for 20 years. She switched over to Carol Rosati and Jopik's firm, which is a stellar firm, represents multiple townships and cities across southeastern Michigan. The average small-town attorney in the state of Michigan, I've been looking at it, is right around between 150 to 200 an hour. So I think we're getting a great deal for the services. I've talked to her on the weekend for questions and projects we've had, and immediately calls back when we're supposed to be off on the weekend. So her reputation speaks for herself, and she sits on the state. What's your new position now?
What she is now, she actually was promoted to secretary of the Michigan State Bar.
So we've got a really experienced attorney here.
Yes. Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. I'd say, I agree with all of that. I think we're well represented by Lisa. I think you do a great job representing White Lake. And I think your resume speaks for yourself, so I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you.
And you always have the interest of the citizens and taxpayers first and foremost.
Yeah.
So, and I appreciate that.
I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to approve the legal services rate increase as asked for, and that we change the prosecution services fee to $100,000 per year,
Commencing October 1st.
commencing October 1st of 2022.
Thank you.
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, very good.
Thank
Next-
you, Lisa.
Oh, you want a roll call vote? No, I don't think we
kidding.
need it on that. Okay. I knew you were going to say something. Request
Thank you,
permit.
everybody.
Request for Lakeland High School. Although this came to the board a little bit late, it still came to the board. From time to time, things kind of fall in the cracks here and there. This is a very common practice that we do here in White Lake, but these permits are required to be reviewed by the chief and then get to us. And here we go. It's Lakeland. I think this is for their homecoming, correct, Chief?
That's correct.
Okay. So hopefully a fun event, and also Jason Trudeau is doing the shoot. Yeah, and he's no stranger to performing in White Lake.
100,000 per.
No objections whatsoever, okay. Any questions, comment from the board? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion. Mr. Roman?
I got a quick
Oh,
question.
Yes.
Why is it does seem like these fireworks permits come in right at the end, right? 10 days to go?
Typically, it's incomplete application. In this case, it was an incomplete application. It is illegal to shoot fireworks on school property unless the operator of that property has no objection and gives us something in writing. We never received a letter. So the clerk's office was very diligent, contacted the shooter for the fireworks show. He contacted the school, they had forgotten about it.
Oh,
So that's what, and the fire marshal in our department, I told him if the application's incomplete, do not turn it back, deny it. And that's what happened.
thanks.
Nothing intentional.
Clerical.
It just happened, yeah.
Yeah, more or less clerical oversight. Okay. Mr. Roman?
Motion to approve the Lakeland High School fireworks display application.
A motion, looking for support?
Support.
I have support from trustee Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Next item is 11D. Okay, now you will have before you something that has been a process of a bit, and we are working on trying to get moving forward so that we can meet the qualifications for our grant for the $1.6 million that is coming out of Washington for the redevelopment of the Elizabeth Lake corridor. So part of that is to have an actual plan, an engineered plan that is approved by the Road Commission of Oakland County. We have had numerous meetings, countless conversations, and Mr. O'Neill, take it from there.
Well, just kind of, you started off very nicely. This has been going on, these discussions, for quite some time. And, more recently, we started to make some headway, the group of us who have been meeting with the road commission. And some of the things that were really kind of hashed through were really, they didn't object to us coming in and resurfacing a road or putting sidewalks in or dealing with storm. I mean, those were all a favor to them. I mean, those are their responsibility generally, but the concepts, the design, the architecture of that area, that key focal point in the community were really the things that we were really, pushing, and they're not concerned about. They move traffic, they deal with stormwater, decorative light poles, landscape islands, parallel parking. Those are things that kind of get in the way of them achieving some of their goals. So that's not a criticism of them. That's not their mission. So over many months, we were finally able to get them on board with on-street parking. They're very opposed to it. I don't know that I can cite other examples in other townships of on-street parking. They just, some cities have them, but some cities also control the roads. We, as a township, do not. So that was one of the obstacles that we were kind of facing. To create the kind of downtown, I'll say, that we want to create, we want to have on-street parking. We want to have the ability for people to drive through there and hop out of their car and into a store or a restaurant. I mean, it generates kind of that feel and that interest that I think we're looking for. So it was a really key feature. But part of that was then crossing pedestrians safely from one side of the street to the other, or bringing them into this area from the residential areas, just in any direction really. And so some of their concern were, I guess, speed limits, safe crossings, things like that. So those were all taken into account. We went back with a couple different design concepts for design, and Mike can maybe, when I'm done rambling on, get maybe more into some of those specifics. But we're very happy a couple of weeks back. I think it was really the beginning of this month, maybe right before Labor Day weekend. It was the 1st of September. It was that Thursday before Labor Day weekend when we had that meeting, and they finally gave us the verbal green light. There were some things that we needed to iron out, but they're good with the on-street parking and kind of the conceptual design that you have in front of you. So really the next step, which the supervisor kind of alluded to, is really launching into this design headlong so we can get it, underway and achieve the, I guess, time constraints or meet the time constraints that surround this federal money so it doesn't go away. So that's really this next step. And as far as what's in the scope and maybe some of the more specific design elements, I guess I'd kick it over to Mike to get into that. But our hope is to move this ahead this fall and really be well along our way with the design so we can submit it to the federal government and start thinking about construction. And I can actually go down, Mike, if you want to. The last page. Okay, this is.
Assuming these are all crosswalks.
There we go.
Looks like it.
Yeah, that's the general concept that we've kind of worked with the township and road commission to try to get, like Sean said, a verbal approval from them for the on-street parking concept. What's not shown here that kind of sets the stage for this is and we didn't want to show it necessarily because we didn't want to include it as part of this project because the road commission has it on their agenda for the future, but is the roundabout at Tigerdyne and Elizabeth Lake Road. And that really kind of helps set the stage for this. That roundabout is planned to be a small roundabout, 90-foot outside diameter. That's roughly what we would do on the interior here at Civic Center Drive. Just those two roundabouts kind of setting the stage. On either end of the Civic Center property, we've got some pedestrian crossings, and the idea behind those, and actually one of the things the road commission commented on was wanting us to extend like a landscape island, another 100 and what do they say, 150 feet or something?
100 to 150 feet.
100 to 150 feet, and really kind of set the stage for this downtown area and really protect any pedestrians that would be crossing at Stanley Park or by the library on the north. But really the concept that Supervisor Kowal and Mr. O'Neill were, really promoting was the on-street parking. And fortunately, we got the road commission to give the verbal approval on that. So I was quite surprised when they did on this last go-around. I honestly thought we'd have a few more renditions, but very happy that we got to a point with them that they gave the verbal approval. So as Supervisor Colwell mentioned, the next step would be to kind of move forward with the design so we can start getting some actual formal approvals. A couple things that I just wanted to point out. In putting this proposal together, we were trying to get a few prices that just didn't come in. So I wanted to mention a few things that are going to be necessary for this, as well as the proposal that's in front of you here tonight. The Road Commission is requiring a traffic impact study, and that's one thing that we're trying to get pricing on. DLZ will be putting a proposal together. We actually have our proposal together for that. We also reached out to Road Professional Services for a comparable price, and we reached out to them at Sean's request because they did a traffic impact study at the corner for Elizabeth Lake Road Retail. So they might have an advantage. They've got some traffic counts. They've got some familiarity with the area. So we wanted to try to see if we can leverage that for you. That traffic impact study needs to look at 3 intersections, Elizabeth Lake Road and M59, M59 and Tigerdyne, and the Elizabeth Lake Road and Tigerdyne. And that all needs to be modeled with a specific software for roundabouts, and it's pretty specific requirements on that. So wanted to point that out. And then the other price that we're chasing down that would have to come before you, and it would be could be an amendment to this proposal if you choose to move forward, is the geotechnical engineering. So we'll need to get soil borings. We're chasing down pricing from, I think, 3 different vendors just to try to get you the best price. I'll be honest with you that DLZ is not going to be your most competitive bet for that just because of the travel time. So we're trying to get some local people on that. So I just wanted to mention those 2 components. But if anybody has any questions about the project, the concept, the proposal, I'd be happy to answer them.
And before we go there, I really want to thank Mr. O'Neill and Mr. Olfkin, because we had some rather interesting meetings and a lot of conversation back and forth, and we were reminded on more than one occasion that it's not our road. And seeing as such, there were things that we had to, I'll say, we had a wish list in one era, and there was a give and a take, and I think they saw the understanding of what we were trying to do, and I certainly appreciate everything that they have done to get us to this point. And I'm sure there will still be some refinements in the process, and other eyes will look at it and have input. But the objective tonight is to keep the ball moving, because we are under a December deadline to have all this packet put in for our grant, and we have $1.6 million at risk. And I really don't want to jeopardize that money, and I know none of my fellow board members do either. So with that, if you have any questions or comments.
I do. So, Mike, I'm just assuming in this drawing a couple things just for clarity to the public.
Sure.
These are crosswalks, and then it looks like it's boulevarded slightly by an island north of Tigerdyne, right? That's a little island there. That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So crosswalks there, those little rectangular boxes are all crosswalks, right?
I just want to make sure we're clear. Sean's got the arrow kind of in that, is that the area you're talking about? Yeah, those are what's called, the Road Commission actually made us change from a previous version. Those are what's called Z crossings, where the pedestrians will cross one lane of traffic. They'll actually have to turn 90 degrees and then turn another 90 degrees to finish
Be
that.
like a button, like a crosswalk
No,
button,
it won't be
or it's
a
crossing?
button. I believe they did indicate we need a light there, not a traffic light, but actual street light. But it won't be a signalized, or it won't be a hawk crossing or anything like
I just want to
that.
make sure it's important.
Hold on one
you know,
second.
it's
Liz
important
asked you
that
if it was a
people are-
boulevard. It's a left turn lane. It's not a boulevard,
So,
correct?
so then
Well,
further.
Boulevard's like around that island, and then it looks like it might boulevard up, or is that a left-hand turn lane as you go north to Elizabeth Lake Road? Or M59.
When I
I'm
think
saying
of
all
a
the wrong
boulevard,
roads.
I
North
think
to
of a
59.
structure coming up on the road.
Yeah.
So that you can't cross.
Right, so I'll clarify, and what the road commission requested be added to the more final plan is that that boulevard, that curbed area that could be landscaped, could be whatever you want in the middle of that, be extended another 100 to 150 feet to kind of like set the stage, protect those pedestrians, and that would, again, be repeated on the north side too. Now, inside the development of that, we need the ability for left turn traffic to come into Stanley Park, to come into the drive, probably not the drive in front of the fire police department, but the drive north of that. So kind of worked out the left turn traffic into those. So the center, in the middle of that area would be a left turn lane.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's safe for pedestrians to cross. Have they given us a speed limit, or is that premature?
So the Oakland County Road Commission has no jurisdiction over speed limits, surprisingly enough. That's Michigan State Police that have jurisdiction
I
over
will,
that.
I will
We're
address
just kind
that.
of
I will
curious
address
of
that.
what's been talked about.
It has been talked about. And we believe, and that is Chief Keller and myself, with the relationship that we have with the Michigan State Police, that we are not going to have any degree of difficulty reducing that to 25.
Okay, good.
The speed studies take like a year. There's such a queue of them, and
Just
there are
curious,
very
has
few
it been
people.
talked about? Because
yeah.
it obviously has to come down.
Yeah.
And then my last question and my final question here is for Chief Hollins here. He might be able to speak, and we'll have to circle around to Chief Keller, but minutes matter in an emergency. So how does this affect our fire trucks getting out to 59? This only, I presume, they'll only go out Tigerdyne now.
I'm going to be honest with you, this is the first time I've seen this. So
Okay.
it's hard for me to give you an accurate comment. I have not seen this plan.
Having conversation with the county, they believe that it doesn't accrete because it is a mountable roundabout. It is not a structure. And this is what their go-to island is, so to speak, that they can have, fire trucks have accessibility if they need to drive over without any degree of difficulty. So they're purposely designed this way for emergency vehicle. So it's really not going to change the response time. You'll still have a two-lane road.
I beg to differ. When they put on the lights and they tried to go through this area of pedestrians, it could present some challenges new to our department. So I would like to have both chiefs weigh in on that at some point in time.
For a size comparison, just so you can relate it to something in the township, it's size-wise, it'll be similar to the roundabout at Cooley Lake and Carroll Lake
Oh,
Road.
I'm aware of I understand what the roundabout
Right.
looks like. I understand their trucks can go over it, but school buses can go over it. I'm just talking about getting to M59 now is almost a little obstacle course for them.
Well, they will have three accesses, straight to 59, up Town Center Road, and up Tigerdyne.
Tigerdyne, yeah.
So they do have actually three directions. And multiple chiefs have looked at this particular site, Rich Marinucci in detail, Andrew Gurka, and John as far as the location of the station, the public safety building, and all agreed that it was a good location for that particular building to be. The purpose of the roundabout for the county's intention is to help slow the traffic down. And in order to get to the speed limit requirements, you have to have certain features on the road that lend itself to that speed limit being brought down. So there's a formulation to
I'll
this.
clarify myself. I'm in favor of putting the speed limit down. This board's vision was parking on the street, so I'm glad we succeeded that. I'm just curious if and if they don't have any objection to it, fine. I'm just curious what the chiefs think about it, because that does change their path to M59. That's all.
It shouldn't be an area, like I say, it
And if
has
he's
been
not prepared
discussed.
to speak on it tonight, that's okay.
Chief can talk about it if you'd like.
Come back.
Conceptual right now? Is that what we're looking at?
This is what we're putting forth towards what the county has, direction they have given us. Okay. Anything else? Mr. Powell.
Yes, I had a good opportunity to talk to the traffic engineer from DLZ, and I had a number of questions on the design and the parking, the total layout, and I was very, very pleased with the answers that I got from DLZ's traffic engineer. I know most of the guys at most of the engineers at the Road Commission. I was kind of surprised that they gave you such a hard time in allowing for this, but I'm glad they did. I was a little bit concerned about having parallel parking on a through street with major traffic flow. I had a different concept in mind, but in talking with the traffic engineer, I understood that if we pushed the envelope, the Road Commission was going to essentially back down, back off on the approval. So this is by far much better than not having the approval. So I'm really thrilled with this concept. It's going to change our whole downtown area, and it's essential that this plan come to fruition in order for our downtown to function properly. So I appreciate that. I do believe, in working with the chief and DLZ, I think they'll probably still have the lights out in front of the fire department. So when those engines roll, it's going to stop all traffic on both sides and give them free access to both ways on Elizabeth Lake Road. And so I don't expect that it's going to slow them down at all in there.
It's just really important that they can get through.
Obviously. And so I'm really pleased with this possibility, and getting the grant is a huge issue.
And one little piece of news, I want to commend the chief on having Station 3 open quite a bit more. So that is a task that was a goal of the chiefs and this board for some period of time, and there has been much more personnel up there than there has been in years. So that also aids in servicing that northern area of the township. So we're moving in the right direction of having a better staff, but that's subject for another day. So,
You know,
Mr. Ruggles.
just thinking out loud, I don't know if this plays into it at all, but if you're trying to get down the road and there's there's parking on the sides, right? You're lined with cars, they can't get out of the way.
This area.
Well, there's 2 lanes and there's also a left turn
Will
lane.
be grass.
So I guess he's going in the middle then.
Your emergency, you got the right of way. People are going to
I
bug
just
out.
want to, before this is all said and done, I just want to make sure that
This way.
Chief Holland is completely satisfied with it, that he feels he can get through with no problem.
Gotcha.
Yep, he'll be part of the approval process as well as Chief Keller. So,
Come back.
thank you.
Go in.
Any other questions or comments?
This is out only.
Any questions or comments?
No, I made them all. Thank you.
All right, and would you like to make a motion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I move approval of the DLZ proposal as presented, subject to the future modification as suggested by the township engineer to potentially have to amend due to additional services at amount of $157,200.
And subject to Oakland County Road Commission's final review.
So they have to approve this agreement, is what you're saying, or the final approval
Final
of
the drawing. Yeah.
Oh, subject to the final approval from the Road Commission. Correct, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion. I will support that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None have it. Thank you, everyone. Next item, old business. Second reading amendment to the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 18, Article 2, Section 1828, Fire Prevention and Protection Ordinance, more commonly known as the Flamethrower Act.
Right. Good evening, board members. Really, there's been no language change since it was originally submitted for first reading. And now what we're looking for is just approval as presented.
Any questions or comments from the board? We've seen the demonstration, we've heard the cause for it, and I believe it's As technology changes and evolves, so must our regulatory, just like the electric jet skis. Same thing. Who would have thought that we'd ever deal with an electric jet ski? Who would have thought we'd be dealing with a flamethrower? So, it is what it is. Seeing no question or comment at this time, Mr. Roman,
A motion to approve the fire code amendments as stated
for adoption.
for adoption.
I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank
It
you
was a
very
tough
much.
night for you, Chief, but
Yeah, I'm like, wow.
And that next item is going into closed session. We're going to recess into closed session to consult with its attorney regarding a trial or settlement strategy in connection with the Oakland County Circuit Court case number 2022-19504-AA Squires versus White Lake in accordance with MCL 15.261E. I'll make that in the form of a
Mr.
motion.
Supervisor, I
Yes.
apologize. Before you make that motion, does it make any sense at all, since we have our residents' attention as part of this meeting, because I know there's tens of thousands of them watching right now, does it make any sense at all to jump to trustee comments first, so we don't do that
Well, we
later
could.
on in the
Yeah.
I
meeting?
think that's a great idea.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't object to it. I don't object
I think
at
it's a
all.
great idea, thank you.
I will make a interim motion to shift the closed session after trustee comments. I'm making that in a formal motion. Looking for support?
Support.
I have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So be done. Trustee comments. Andrew Voorhees.
I'm disappointed in my fellow board members. I'm just gonna start off harsh. Very great fire open house on Sunday. I saw one other elected. It was great. I love it when our community comes together for a great event and we don't show up. I feel as a trustee that that's part of our job responsibilities. We have one more activity this year. I'm pretty confident that's gonna be going on. It's the tree lighting. Not sure the date, but no, I will remind everyone. Even the Fisk Farm, I didn't hear. I'm sorry, Scott, I was mad. This fires me up. I'm not there for the picture opportunity. I wasn't there this year. I'm there for the residents. I'm not just there for the picture opportunity like some of us are. And one of the things that we would have found out if we would have been at the fire open house, we have a new program. The home safety assessment put on by Fireman Pierce. I'm gonna read right from his brochure. White Lake Fire Department is committed to continued safety of its citizens through active and effective fire prevention methods. In an effort to help reduce the risk of fires in homes, along with a reduction in loss of life and injury, the White Lake Township Fire Department is offering free home safety assessments. What they do is they check your smoke detectors for needs of assessments. They check your carbon monoxide alarms, your electrical and safety appliance safety, cooking safety, candle safety, and escape plans and exit clearances. They take approximately 20 to 30 minutes to complete. M. Pierce at whitelaketownship.com, he's in charge of it. Couldn't quite find the information on the website. I didn't spend a lot of time looking for it. But we need to embrace our township and their programs and our community activities. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Powell.
In just a very quick response, because I know Andrea gets riled up just a little bit over a couple things. I will personally invite her to all the sanitary sewer, water, main,
I'll be
road
there.
meetings that she doesn't attend during the day. And I will make sure that everybody knows that she doesn't attend those.
I have a full-time job.
And so do the rest of us.
Right,
So-
Andrea, it was really inappropriate and offensive. It was.
Excuse me, Mr. Powell has the floor.
So that being said, hopefully she can be a little bit forgiving for some of us that spend time for the township elsewhere. And quite frankly, I appreciate very much for her attending those things when she can. And so some of us are called to do that, some of us are called to do other things, so I appreciate that. I did want to get some advice, and I think Supervisor might be the best one to help me wade through this a little bit on election night. And the reason why I want to bring it up tonight is because their absentee ballots are going out now, and I want to make sure that our residents are aware that there is a millage request of over 0.9 mils for a traffic, or for a transportation program.
0.95.
0.95, thank you, mils for a transportation program. White Lake currently has, we have WODA that we join to assist our residents in attending and being transferred and delivered to meetings and the like. Most of the communities in western Oakland County and northern Oakland County will, quite frankly, receive zero benefit from this millage. And yet, every homeowner is going to be, every property owner is going to be taxed on it. Here in White Lake, we will receive a little bit of benefit from it in that we do have WODA that will be, if not partially, somewhat paid for by this millage. However, 0.95 mils means almost $1 for assessed value of your home per $1,000 of your home will be given to Oakland County to spend the way they want, not the way White Lake Township wants. And so if you have a $400,000 home, the assessed values or the appraised value or whatever it is
Taxable value.
taxable value is $200,000. So that's about $200 per year that our residents are going to be paying to Oakland County for transportation to who knows where, because no routes have been established yet. And Mr. Supervisor, I was going to try to multiply that by the number of properties in White Lake Township, or the assessed value of all the properties in White Lake. About what number is that we will be giving Oakland County if this passes?
Well, 0.95 mils, Michael, that number should be about what?
About $1.3 million. $1.3
million, $1.2 million?
So about $1.3 million we're going to be giving Oakland County, when White Lake right now spends approximately $200,000 to accomplish the same thing, and we're not going to get any more benefit than what we have now. So I leave it up to the residents, but I wanted to let them know that this is a very important millage. Much like the reproduction vote for that on that election as well. But this is we're going to be giving away our money here in White Lake Township, and I'm concerned that the residents are going to just approve this, and the high population areas are probably going to overrule White Lake Township anyway, but it's really critical that people become informed as to what they're being asked to vote on, and not just vote, yeah, transportation sounds good, because $200 plus out of your pocket's going to be going to somewhere else and not to our residents. So, Mr. Supervisor, thank you.
I will comment on, I will inform you of some things when I get to that point. Thank you, Michael, I appreciate that. Mr. Roman.
I would like to thank our planning department for the great job on the CIP. I'd like to thank our supervisor for all the work on the road. And I'd like to thank all of the residents that are tuning in today. That's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Mr. Ruggles.
Yeah. The Planning Commission will be meeting on October 6th, if it's not canceled. I don't think it is. As far as the fire open house, it was a shame that I wasn't able to be there. My kids always look forward to it. And I don't know if everybody knows, but I sent over 200 pumpkins in my stay. So they were there to represent me.
There you go. Each pumpkin was there to represent Scott.
And for the Fisk Farm Festival, I sent the sweet corn. So it's delicious. But I understand what you're saying, Andrew. I'd like to make it to each event.
But you had a very
so.
effective excuse this weekend.
It was my anniversay.
There you go.
I was, and actually it's today. It's today.
Happy
But
anniversary.
but I'm
Congratulations.
here with you guys.
Right. I think we've all spent our anniversary together.
So thank you.
Very good. Mr. Noble.
I did reach out to Chief Allen. I had to travel out of state with family in a last minute deal. So I did ask for excuse, Chief, and you granted that, correct?
I did. I appreciate you reaching out.
And I was at the Fisk Farm
You
for
had
about,
asked for permission.
yes, sir. And then I was at the Fisk Farm for more than 3 hours, and I agree with Andrea, try to make as many events as we can. We all have obligations, family and et cetera, but I love your passion for everything. Suicide awareness, it's very dear to me. I had a good friend over the weekend that took his own life.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And Supervisor Cole and I both know him, that was very involved in WODA. It's a tragic event. Over the years, I can name 6 police officers with some firemen that have taken their own lives, and a family member of mine. So it's a very serious topic. Yep, that's it.
Very serious, and all of us have to keep our eyes and ears open for people and always make sure that people that we deal with on a daily basis know that there's always somebody to talk to. Yeah, that's important. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Trustee Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So I hope I'm not stepping on your toes, Anthony, but I wanted to mention it's National Voter Registration Day today. So never too late to register to vote. And as you know, we have an up-and-coming election. So please come into the clerk's department and he'll take care of you. And there's great staff there that can help you get registered. Next is, as a child advocate, and I'm a foster parent, a library liaison, really involved in helping out with children in my church. It's what I do for a living. Today is also National Care for Kids Day. This is a day to highlight opportunity to positively impact a child's life. This is the most, it's meant to ask you to take a step forward in acting and on your own ideas. Donate your time, share your time, anything that you can do to support our children in our community as a role model is important. It's just a day to recognize, to support children in our community to thrive. So I just wanted to mention that. And hopefully that sparks some ideas to somebody of how they can help a child in our community. Next, I wanted to mention that the Friends of the Library had another very successful book sale recently, and their next sale is December 8th. And I wanted to touch upon suicide prevention as well. Unfortunately, it is the second leading cause of death between children 10 to 14. So as I had previously mentioned, I want to thank my board for passing that resolution. That number is on the back of every student ID in Michigan, grades 6 through 12. So just take a moment to speak to your child about that, or any teenager or preteen that you know that there is somebody available 24 hours a day that they can speak with. And then lastly, I just want to thank my colleagues. It was a pleasure to attend the State of the Lakes today with Trustee Powell, Clerk Noble, Deputy Clerk Santiago, Supervisor Cole, and support staff from the Township and Clerk's office, Supervisor and Clerk's office, and our Library Director attended as well, and that was a pleasure this afternoon, so thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for attending. Okay. Okay, well, a couple different things. One, some of you may find this a little odd, but I think we have a little debt of gratitude here that I don't think we all think about. And if it was not for the great country of England, we would not be here. So with this, I will say, with the Queen Mother being in power from February 6, 1952 till her death, she ruled at one time 32 sovereign states. The sun never set on the British Empire at one point in time and during her reign. She was born April 21st, 1926, and passed away here just a couple days ago. She was a staunch U.S. ally and has stood by us through virtually every confrontation that we have had around the world, and England deserves our gratitude and the Queen deserves our recognition. So I wanted to bring that to the attention of our residents and my fellow board members. The issue of the countywide transportation millage, I have been involved in that, and today at the meeting, I was posed with that question to respond, and I asked, why did I get the toughest question on the, it kind of reminded me of being in school, you know, the teacher asks you the toughest question, you got to find an answer. Right. And it's a difficult one to find an answer for. WODA will bring in roughly about $2 million under the current proposal that there is. it is not really enough money to expand the system. Other communities would have to join in. Each community, the amount of money coming out of those communities, for example, let's just pluck Holly, for example, they would have a certain amount of monies that would be able to go back into a transportation system. They currently have a small transportation system, which works for them, as WODA works for us, and Waterford, and Highland, and the city of Walled Lake. So, on the one hand, you have the ability that more funding will be available to expand, but on the other hand, you're not getting back the proportionate amount of money that you're doling out. Between Waterford, White Lake, Highland, and Walled Lake, it's going to be roughly about $5.9 million paid to Oakland County, of which only $2 million is going to come back. You're an engineer, do the math. So these are things that need to be thought about. Is the intention and desire of it good? Absolutely. This board firmly believes in transportation, in particular for our folks in our community that need it the most. This board has been non-divided and completely 100% on board for this and that's why we have WODA, and that's why we're working with the organization that we have and our fellow community members, as they are. So no one can turn to our communities and say that we do not believe, nor are we not putting our money where our mouth is. I highly recommend that you educate yourself on all of the ballot issues. It's extremely important, realizing that you are going to be paying an extra $1 per $1,000 value on your house. So pull out your tax bill, take a look at it, and you'll suddenly realize it's going to be a few more nights out, a few less things you can buy your children, and a couple other things you might have to kind of figure out how to budget for. So it's very important. I appreciate the intention of the county, but I'm not quite sure where this is all going to pan out, but I think our voters need to be educated. So I know there is going to be a couple of campaigns going out there to try to educate folks on those matters. And also at this time, I would like to very proudly note to my fellow board members that we are going now into the next stage of our compilation of information for our Civic Center project. And I have appointed Mike Roman, Mike Powell, and Anthony Noble as our Rfq Advisory Board. They all have certain areas of expertise, and they will take in ultimately when we acquire the RFQs from individuals as we put them out, and they will review them and make a recommendation to the board. The board, of course, will have the opportunity to look at all of these, but they're going to look at them from an engineering standpoint, a construction standpoint, and a financial standpoint. So it's very important to have all of this looked at. And this will expedite the process, so I certainly appreciate your acceptance to my appointment, and I know that you will serve the township well as you have. I want to touch briefly on the suicide deal. We did have a tragic loss this weekend, and I will tell you there is one thing that everybody can do and try to do it, and even if it pains you sometimes, smile. Mm-hmm. Smiling is a universal language. You can have a frumpy, grumpy day, but you know what? Sometimes somebody out there, all they need to do is make eye contact and a little smile, and it goes a long way. Your coworkers, the person you pass at, on the street, whatever, just have a pleasant attitude. And sometimes you'll make the difference between making somebody's day bright and somebody's days cloudy. So it's all about attitude. And we all have our moments in the gray, but most of us have a great moment in the sun. Mr. Powell, I'd like to commend you on your missionary trip to Romania.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing and have a coffee with you and discuss it. And maybe, I can get legal to, allow you to disclose your trip to a small gathering of more than 4 board members as an informational meeting only. Okay.
I'd be
Find our
I'd be
church.
honored
You can
to.
watch our church online and then you'll learn all about it.
So we would like to know more about it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, that being said, I'd like to say good night, God bless. We are going into, we're going into executive session, but I just wanted to say that at that point in case I forget a little later. So we are going into executive session. I have made the motion, looking for support.
Say the time.
I have support from trustee Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 8:25, going into executive session. Thank you.